The worship of the Magi. Gentle Bible story. According to the Gospel of Matthew, the Magi followed the star until they came to the place where baby Jesus was. They entered the house and saw the child with Mary his mother. Then they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. After this, they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod. So they went back to their own country by another way. Now the story begins inside a humble house in Bethlehem, where the light of the star had finally come to rest. The Magi had traveled a long road to reach this place. Their journey had taken them far from their own land, through unknown roads, changing skies, and many tiring days. They had followed a sign in the heavens, but the road itself had still required courage. They had asked questions in Jerusalem. They had passed through the troubled shadow of King Herod. And now, after all that searching, they stood before the child they had come to find. But what they saw was not a palace. There was no golden throne. There were no royal guards standing in rows. There was no sound of power filling the room. There was a mother. There was a child. There was a quiet home. To the eyes of the world, the scene may have looked small and ordinary. Baby Jesus was still young, held close to Mary his mother. Nothing about the room seemed to match the kind of king people often imagine. But the Magi stopped before him. They saw more than what was outwardly simple. They bowed down and worshipped him. This is one of the most beautiful moments in the story. Men who had come from far away lowered themselves before a small child. They had crossed a great distance, but at the end of their journey, they did not stand proudly. They knelt, they worshipped. Their search did not end in curiosity. It ended in reverence. True worship often begins when the heart becomes quiet before God. The Magi did not need a palace to recognize the king. They did not need worldly power to see holy meaning. They found the newborn king in a humble place, and their hearts bowed before him. Then they opened their treasures. The gospel tells us that they offered gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These gifts were precious. They were not small tokens given without thought. They were gifts worthy of honor. And they were placed before a child whose road would be unlike any other. Gold was a gift fit for a king. It was bright, costly, and valued by people everywhere. When the Magi placed gold before Jesus, it seemed to speak of his kingship. He was not only a child in one family. He was the king who had come into the world. But his kingdom would not be like the kingdoms of the earth. He would not rule by fear. He would not conquer by cruelty. He would come in humility, mercy, and truth. The gold lay before a child who would become a king unlike all other kings. Frankincense was a fragrant gift. It was often connected with worship, prayer, and holiness. Its scent rose quietly and filled the air, even though it could not be held in the hand. When the Magi offered frankincense, it seemed to point toward the holy meaning of Jesus. He was among people, yet he was not only an ordinary child. He had come from God. He would open the way between God and humanity. He would bring people near to the Father, not through distance and fear, but through grace and love. Frankincense carried the feeling of worship. It spoke softly of holiness. It reminded the heart that this child was worthy not only of respect, but of reverence. Then there was myrrh. Myrrh was also precious, but its meaning was deeper and heavier. It was a fragrant substance, but it was also connected with suffering, death, and burial. Placed before baby Jesus, myrrh feels like a quiet shadow across the joy of his birth. It seems to point toward a road that had not yet been walked. The child in Mary's care would one day carry the sorrow of the world. His life would not be a life of comfort alone. His path would move toward the suffering of the cross. The gift of myrrh reminds us that the story of Jesus cannot be understood only as a sweet birth story. Even in the beginning, there is a quiet sign of the sacrifice to come. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh each carried a different meaning. Gold pointed to a king. Frankincense pointed to holiness and worship. Myrrh pointed to suffering, death, and the costly road of salvation. The gospel does not tell us whether the Magi understood all of these meanings fully. They may not have known everything that the child would one day do. They may not have understood the cross, the resurrection, or the full mystery of his mission. But the gifts they offered became deep signs for those who would later look back on this moment. Jesus was the King. Jesus was the Holy One. Jesus was the one who would suffer to bring salvation. Yet the value of the gifts was not the only important thing. The deeper beauty is that the Magi gave what was precious to them. They did not come empty-handed. They opened their treasures before Jesus. Perhaps, in that moment, they opened more than their boxes. They opened their hearts. They laid down the honor of their journey. They laid down the hope that had carried them. They laid down the best they had before the child they had found. Worship is not only spoken with the mouth. Worship is also shown when the heart lowers itself and gives what it holds dear. The Magi teach us that true worship is not measured only by words. It is seen in humility. It is seen in surrender. It is seen when someone says, without needing many words, that Jesus is worthy. After they worshipped him, the Magi were warned in a dream not to return to Herod. So they went back to their own country by another way. They had come to Bethlehem by following a star. They left Bethlehem by following God's warning. Their road changed after they met Jesus. This detail is simple, but it carries quiet meaning. When someone truly comes before Christ, the way forward cannot remain exactly the same. The Magi returned to their country, but they did not return by the same path. They had seen the child. They had worshipped the king. They had laid their treasures before him. And now they went home another way. This story asks a gentle question of our own hearts. What do we treasure most? What are we holding tightly in our hands? And can we place what is precious before Jesus? The Magi did not find Jesus in a place of outward greatness. They found him in humility. They found him in quietness. They found him where the world may not have expected a king to be. This reminds us not to look for God only in places of power and noise. Sometimes the deepest glory is found in the lowest place. Sometimes the holy moment is quiet. Sometimes worship begins when we stop trying to appear strong and simply bow our hearts before him. Now this story leaves a quiet image of worship in our hearts. The Magi came from far away, but when they found Jesus, they bowed down. They opened their treasures. They gave what was precious. I hope this story becomes a gentle comfort for every heart that wants to worship Jesus with sincerity. And I hope it helps us lay down our most precious hearts before him with quiet faith and humble love.